mention that she's about to leave for the mission field. Keep her in your prayers. She'll be heading to Myanmar tomorrow. How long will you be there, Gracie? 3 months? I'd like for us after church to just lay hands on her and send her out. I believe when somebody goes, that more than prayer, we need to cover them in every aspect possible, you know, and God has stationed each of us. And as these announcements and exhortations have come up, it's just so cool to see God moving locally and abroad. And what she said in worship is so true. And yeah, go ahead, Gary.
My word casts out fear.
Yeah.
And I have defeated the enemy.
Yes, he has.
If you will allow me, I can work through you that you can be the voice of worship.
Amen.
Just read and study my word. Talk to me. And I will answer you. You will know deep down in your heart what to do and what to say. For fear, that's a word. I've cast that fear out. And I'm going to cast it each day out of your life so I can work through you.
Good.
That you can reach the kids of Marshall County.
Amen. Praise the Lord.
You may be unseen, unknown, whatever, but in my book you are mine.
Amen.
And I shall make you the voice of Marshall County.
Amen. Praise God. Man, that's awesome. Thank you for being obedient, brother. Because what he says is the exact truth. We have zero hope without Jesus Christ. He is the foundation. He is our life. He is our hope. People, and it's a shame to watch the places that people run to seek wholeness and healing and peace when we know that's just a glimpse and it will never satisfy. But Jesus Christ is the answer and always has been and always will be. And I'm excited about what he's doing. As we move into January, what a hectic last couple of weeks it has been. What about for you guys? This season is when you start evaluating all the gifts that you've received. I mean, obviously, Jesus is the reason for the season, and we know this. But, you know, we celebrate oftentimes by the giving and receiving of gifts. And a lot of times, people look at this, and then they open something, and their heart is, oh, what am I supposed to do with this? Or you think, thank you. Always what I wanted. And you never let that be known. Sometimes you see it and you're just elated with joy. Like, yes, I've been waiting for this. Sometimes it's clothes and it's like, that's how my son is. Oh, socks, just throw it away. That gets to the next gift, you know. And I want us to think about that. We got one gift in particular this year that, I don't know, just resonated with us. It was from Trevor and Rebecca. And we got a lot of awesome gifts. But they gave us this most amazing gift. It is a teapot. We have become and fully embraced hot tea. It's really an anointing that's settled in the Clendenen household. It's awesome. I can no longer have the foo-foo that it takes to go make coffee taste good to me. I don't drink it black. Don't you dare judge me. We're in the house of God. But I have fallen in love with this tea. And I get this Irish breakfast tea, and I go to Parcells every day, and a couple of my baristas are sitting here this morning, and I walk in, they know exactly what I want. Irish breakfast tea, and they'll let it steep, and then I'll put in stevia, and then I'll add some heavy whipping cream because it has less carbs than milk. And it's so enjoyable, such an enjoyable process. Well, we opened this gift from Trevor and Rebecca, and it's this teapot, and it looks like an Asian teapot with these little, you know those Asian type teacups that are very small that you have to drink like 20 of them to get enough tea in? It had those, so we don't use the cups as much because I need more of this. But we have used this thing every day, and the filter sits down in it so that the tea leaves don't fraternize with the water that's going to come into your mouth. You don't want to be drinking the leaves. And we do it every day. We display it in our coffee little section, tea section in our house. It's just awesome. And I've told everybody, now I'm telling all of you guys, I love this teapot. It's an incredible gift. We love it. We're grateful for it. I have gone to Trevor and Rebecca like at least 10 times and said, thank you for this. We really, really love this teapot. It is such an awesome gift. And it hit us right where we needed to be hit. Scratched us right where we itched. Perfect. You know, it's amazing how one gift so simple we can appreciate, we can use, we can tell everybody about, we can be grateful for, we can put in a place of honor. But the ultimate gift of all, we don't look at it in the same way. I mean, at the end of the day, it's a teapot. It's an awesome teapot. It's a nice teapot, and I love it. But God has given us a gift. And I want us to open the Bible to Ecclesiastes chapter 9. And there's just kind of been a theme that's running through this time together today. And it's getting back to the main thing. And most of you have already made your little resolutions, like Gary was saying. I didn't, because it would have been broken by now. It's the 5th. Didn't see any sense in giving a 4-day resolution. But what I want us to get from the Word is this. And this is right after about 2.5 chapters of this mindset that so many of us live in today. What's it all worth? Why do we do what we do? You know, why do you go punch a clock for 40 plus hours a week just to get home and wake up the next morning, the next week, and do the same exact thing over again? Why does this happen only so this will happen? And Solomon is going through this mindset in Ecclesiastes, and he uses the word vanity. It's all vanity. It's all a waste, basically. What is the process here? And at the end of 2.5 chapters of this vanity, what's the meaning of all this? Trying to make sense of life. He pins something that is so brilliant to me, and it gets us back to the basics of appreciating the gift that we've been given. And it says this, Ecclesiastes chapter 3, verse 9. Did I say it wrong? Okay. Whatever mistake I made, I'm oblivious, as I am to most of the mistakes that I make. What gain has the worker from his toil? I've seen the business that God has given to the children of man to be busy with. He's made everything beautiful in its time. Also, he has put eternity in man's heart. Yet so that he cannot find out what God has done from the beginning to the end. That's frustrating at times. I perceive that there is nothing better for them than to be joyful and to do good as long as they live. Also that everyone should eat and drink and take pleasure in all of his toil. This is God's gift to man. See, you may feel like your life's a waste. You may feel like your life is completely boring. You may feel like that there's times that you're questioning, what's the sense? And like Ronnie said, what do I even have to offer? I'm a nobody. But the truth is, you've been given a gift. And we can discard it. We can ignore it. We can throw it in the closet like you've done to some of the gifts that you've received. And probably the tags will never be taken off. Some of us try to give the gift back. Take it back. Oh, it doesn't fit. I'll just take it back. Or we despise the gift that we've been given. But the truth is this. You will have to give account for the ultimate gift that we've been given. And in these words, I want us to break it apart. What is this gift that we've been given that's called life? What makes it such a powerful and awe-inspiring gift, especially in the midst of, this is vanity. Why did I even do this? I want us to look at this gift. Is everybody with me? Good. 6 out of 350. That's good ratios this morning. Let's look at this. I'm thankful my wife thinks I'm funny. If nobody else does, I think I'm hitting a time in life where I'm getting older. Like the temperature on the thermostat, I wrote that on Facebook yesterday, it's changed a lot. Like by 12 degrees. I can't get warm enough. And she uttered to me what I've uttered to her. I thought, just put on more clothes. And she's constantly cold now. And yesterday, or hot now, and I'm like sitting there shivering, and my feet and hands are cold. And she's like, it is burning up in here. I said, I'm freezing. She said, put on more clothes. I had some time the other day, and this showed age as well. What am I going to do? I sat down and did a puzzle, and I enjoyed every minute of it. A magnifying glass, looking like, yeah, that'll fit there. And I'm telling dad jokes at an unprecedented level. I don't know what this is, but what gain has the worker from his toil? Let's get back into this and get off my rabbit trail. What is this gift? The first one is this. He has made everything beautiful in its time. That is difficult to hear to me because I don't like processes. Do you? I want the destination. I want the end result. Even when we take a trip somewhere, my wife's a journey person. She never wants a trip to end. Well, let's go here. I'm like, I want to go home. I want to be done with this, Or you're going on a vacation. Let's stop here. Let's take this little John and go. No, it is not vacation until you get to the place you're going, you unpack, and you sit. That's the destination. That's when it starts. She's like, no, it starts now. Let's go here. And Brandy and Bart Crum have inspired us to like weird things, like the biggest mousetrap in the world. I saw you. That's a part of the journey. With this process here, it says this: He's made everything beautiful in its time. And I want to encourage you today. A gift that God has given you is this: you are in process. Isaiah chapter 61, verse 1 through 3. It says in there that He gives us beauty for ashes. Now, that's difficult to see when you live in an ash heap. And it's difficult to appreciate what's coming when all around you smell char and things burning and everything lost. One of the most real, I guess that was a vision that God had ever given me. After walking through the most difficult season of our life, it's been over a decade ago. I mean, a year of just constant turmoil and battling. God stopped me in the midst of that when I am, Lord, what's this worth? I'm done. Throwing my hands up, I'm done. And I had a vision. And I saw this ash. And I'm sitting there holding the hand of Jesus in this vision. And the Lord said, what do you see? I said, Lord, it's a total loss. There's nothing there. It's all gone. And He said, look again. And in the midst of that ash, I'll never forget this as long as I live. I saw one flower. It was the most vivid thing I've ever seen. It was a yellow, bright flower growing right in the midst of this ash heap. And He says, not all is lost. And He said, this next year I'll give you beauty for the ashes that your life has become. And that shook me to the core. And I went home and told my wife, things are changing. God's moving. And from that one moment, what was devastation and loss turned into hope. See, the Lord is like that. He says He will make things beautiful in its time. And I want to encourage you, like the word that was given earlier by Grace. Some of you have had the most difficult season of your life. But don't let that make you lose sight of the fact that God is not finished yet. God's not done yet. He's not finished moving. And just because you may be living in an ash heap doesn't mean that God has failed you, that He has let you down. He gives beauty for ashes, and He makes things beautiful in His time. See, that's hard for us, though, because God's time frame is never on Richie's time frame. Ever. I've got God on a stopwatch. Okay, God, here's my prayer. Let's do it. Throw it away. He doesn't work that way. Well, this is Old Testament. Well, I'm glad you said that, because Paul comes back and he says this. We know this, that all things work together for the good of those that love the Lord, and they're called according to His purpose. See, we need to realize that in this life, if we think it's ashes and vanity, that God is saying, I'll make it beautiful in its time. It's part of the gift that He's been given to us. The second thing is this, and we're going to really press in on this. It says that He's also put eternity in the hearts of man. And I want you to think about this. This life that we live, it's just such a quick life. James calls it a vapor, a mist. It's here for a moment and then it's gone. And we do live in a culture that is completely infatuated with the end of the world in entertainment. How many movies, I'm so sick of cataclysmic events, the end of the world, and then there's a dystopian world that's left that everybody lives in. Let's get a new movie plot. It's over now, But people just keep going and seeing these things because they're so infatuated with the end of the world. And what the great irony is, people are consumed with this in culture, but no one lives their life like it's an actual thing. So why are we entertaining ourselves with these things? Oh, the end of the world, end of the world, end of the world. But we don't live like we believe that. When God says, I've put eternity in your heart. See, we all know that there's something else beyond this. And even this week, as I watch things on the news, there was a time in church life that people were consumed with the return of Christ. There's times that I can remember waking up and even thinking, looking at a sunrise, I bet the sky's going to look like this on the day that He comes back. Church, it's not any less true than when you were consumed with it. Jesus is coming back again. And it's time that we live like there's more to life than the vanity and the mundane that we're living in every single day. And Matthew records it like this. When they ask, hey, what's it going to look like at the end of time? Open your Bibles up to Matthew chapter 24. Is everybody still with me? Hey, I had more than when I started. That's good. What will be the signs of the coming of the end of the age? And he says this. Many will come in my name, saying I'm the Christ. Step one, people claiming that they're the Messiah. That has happened so many times. How many cults have come about, and I think about the ones that I've watched like through the 90s and even earlier than that, people claiming that they're Jesus. And I always wonder one question, are people that stupid? Are people so dumb that they cover themselves with these little purple cloths and wear tennis shoes and wait for a comet to come and take them? They're that dumb. Are people so crazy that they get into all these cults and believe nonsense? Why? Because we are vulnerable. And Jesus said this is how it's going to be. There's going to be all kinds of people come claiming that they're the Messiah. And they will lead many astray. And he says this, there will be wars and rumors of wars. Okay, we checked off the first thing on the list. If I see one more Facebook meme about World War III is about to start, what is that? That's rumors of wars. We live in a culture of war. It says the nation will rise against nation and kingdom against kingdom. It's just part of the end times. It says there'll be famines. Now, we think, well, that's not happening. You're living in an American fantasy world. That's the problem. Go somewhere else in a third world country and you see if this is real or not. Earthquakes in diverse places, in multiple locations. And then it says this. Here's another thing that we've had a little bit of reprieve from in our country. All these things are the beginning of sorrow. And they will deliver you up to tribulation, and they'll put you to death. I've often wondered how good of a martyr I would be. And that's kind of removed from us at this point. I'm not convinced it's always going to be that way. They'll deliver you up and kill you. First of all, Jesus is saying this, telling people, hey, come follow me. Here's what it's going to look like. You'll be killed for my name's sake. And you know what? Historically, most of the disciples were. That's so distant from us. But we need to realize that's what we're signing up for when we say, come follow Jesus. And God's been speaking to me so much. We're so captivated with this church growth world that we live in. We make it palatable. We water it down. We give programs where people can come and make our church look so attractive. Jesus was a master at shrinking a crowd. There was times he had a multitude of people. They were following. Hey, bread, fish. Yes, this is the church I want. Multiplied fish sandwiches for everybody. And then he says, hey guys, forget the bread and the fish. Eat my flesh and drink my blood. Something different's on the menu today. No, this is the fish church. What are you talking about? I'm not doing that. And they left. They left him. And Jesus never watered down the cost of what it takes to follow him. We need to understand inherently in the call to follow Christ is a death to ourself. I wonder how many people would be saved if that's what we propagated. Come follow Christ. It'll probably cost you your life and follow. It'll cost you everything. Instead of, hey, come here. You're on the church membership now. You can do this. We have watered it down so much. And Jesus never did that one time. Take up your cross and follow me. God, they don't want to do that. Sell all you have and give to the poor, then come and follow me. The guy walked away sorrowful because that's a price he didn't want to pay. And we've changed somehow the image of what it is to follow Christ. And we build a church, make it attractive. When Jesus could care less about growth, he's looking for disciples that will pay the ultimate price and say, I'm following you if it costs me my life. Thomas, he gets a bad rap because the dude doubted one time. Give him a break. Doubting Thomas, that was 2,000 years ago. Get over it. Nobody talks about when Jesus says, let's go back to Bethany. He said, let's all go and we'll die together. Thomas said that too. Nobody quotes him on that. It's all doubting Thomas. Inherently in the call to follow Jesus is this. They might kill you for this. And I heard a missionary talk one time, Dad and I. He likened it to a ladder. You remember this, Dad? He said, Americans, when you follow Jesus, take a ladder. He said, you get on Christ, you accept Christ, and you start climbing up the ladder. You know, you get rid of this, you don't have this, and you go here, you get this state, you have this. He said, that's not how we view following Christ. we follow Christ, we lose our family, we lose everything. We start climbing down the ladder till we're left bare and have nothing. That's actually a more accurate picture of what it takes to follow Jesus. A complete giving over of who we are. I know this is an exciting message. And then he goes into this. And this one, it hurts. But it's true. And I'm telling you, if we've ever been in this place, it's now. You will be hated by all nations for my name's sake. I've always had something in me, even in school growing up. I was the guy that would do anything to get a laugh. I'm not, well, maybe I am, I don't know. I wanted everybody to like me. I was kind of an anomaly. I didn't fit in the cliques because I did what it took to be liked by that clique growing up. And this one, and this one, and this one. I didn't want anybody to not like me. I mean, what's not to like? Sorry, just joking. But Jesus says this, don't think this is going to be popular. They're going to hate you. Guys, I want us to look at the world around us. Christianity is the most hated religion in the world. And it's the one of truth. And it's the one that offers true life and hope. We're not popular. Are we? You can, not that you should pick and make fun of anybody else or anybody else's whatever. But Christians are open game in today's culture. And they're fair game. You can do whatever you want to. You can do it however you want to. We're supposed to be tolerant of everyone, but nobody's tolerant of Christians because they're hated. That's not going to change because Jesus said it's going to get worse. You'll be hated by everybody by being my disciple. Every nation will detest you. It's not good. And he follows that with, and it makes sense. Because of this, there'll be a great falling away. Many will fall away. Of course they will, because the price is getting greater to follow Jesus. It's getting much difficult. Getting much more difficult. Many people will fall away. And then he goes in to say this. Many people will be led astray. There'll be increased lawlessness. My goodness. People do things and applaud it and put it on social media and brag about it. Things that people would be ashamed to even have thought about 50 years ago. Am I telling the truth? What is that? Lawlessness is increasing. It's increasing. The world is yearning for change. And it says this, because the love of many, because of all this, the love of many will grow cold. And I'm getting somewhere with this. Stay with me, but I wanted to get in depth here for a moment. That's something we all have to guard about. We have to guard on our hearts this jadedness. And it really goes back to what Solomon is saying. It's all vanity. What's all this worth? Why is this happening? Why is all these things going on? Just forget it. It's vanity. Jesus actually said that would happen. He said we would get to the place of, my love is gone cold. But then he has some good news. In spite of all these things, he says, but this gospel of the kingdom will be proclaimed in all nations as a witness. I was saying something about grace a minute ago. I so appreciate those that will say, I will go. I will go. I don't care if I'm hated. I don't care if they take my life even. I don't care what it costs me. I don't care if I never get married. I don't care if I never do anything and have a career. He's called me. I'm going. See, at the same time, simultaneously, there is a revival moving in the hearts of man that say, I want to be part of the kingdom. Why is that the case? Because God has set eternity in the hearts of man, that we realize there is something greater than what we're living in right now, and it's coming. There's something on the other side of this that is well worth the price that we pay. The first thing we have to do to be living in that culture of eternity being in our hearts, we have to recognize the time. And the second thing, we have to alter our way of life. And the third thing we have to do is we have to live with urgency. In Ephesians, it says it this way: make the best use of the time because the days are evil.
Oh, yeah.
Remember, we're talking about God's gift to us. How is all of this a gift? And we talked about making everything beautiful. Okay, I can get there. That's a gift. We're in process. Eternity in our hearts. God never intended for his people to get lost in all of this stuff. Even as the world is coming to a close, he's never intended for us to get stuck in that system. That's why he told us, be in this world, but don't be of it. Keep in your mind that I'm coming back. Eternity is coming, and the days are evil. As you see them increasing in all this lawlessness, get down to business because the days are evil. Guys, we are watching prophecies be fulfilled on the news every single day. Every day. That's all hogwash. Nah, Jesus, okay, the Bible says he's coming back, but that's a long way off. Never happened in my lifetime. I used to make comments so stupid when I was a young man. I pray God doesn't come back until I can have a family. That's the dumbest thing. I'm at the place of my life I want it to be before church is over. Jesus, come now.
Amen.
Is anybody else there? Because eternity is set in our hearts. Guys, there is coming a day. And we need to get that back in the forefront of our mind. This life is not what it's about. We need to be urgent about that fact that Jesus is coming back. Your neighbors, your friends, your family member, don't waste time. You stop wasting time with your life. Jesus is coming back, and we'll have to give account for every idle word we even spoke, much less our actions. And it's time that we become urgent about those things, and we recognize the time and live in light of eternity. We're talking about God's gift to man. He says everything's beautiful in his time. He set eternity in man's heart. And then he goes on to say this: there is nothing better for us to do than to be joyful. I spoke on this a few weeks ago. Joy is a decision. It is not circumstantial, because there's not a lot of things that there are to be joyful about at first glance. I mean, after the tires go flat, you walk out and you're out of gas, and then this breaks and this breaks and this breaks. Your first inclination is not, yay! All right! It's and then Jenny, it'll be okay, it's fine. Don't even look at me. I never do. I'm talking about what my son does. I don't ever do that. Just kidding. But joyfulness is a decision. It's a gift that we've been given. And we have to make a decision that wherever we find ourselves, that we listen to what the Word says. Count it all joy, my brothers, when all of these things happen. And God says, this is my gift to you. And the best thing that you can do, living in this world, living in this culture, is to make a decision to live with joy. And do good. Does anybody ever get tired of doing good? Well, I have. Because you live in this vanity of like, well, you give this person, and they're just going to take advantage of you. I did that. I know how this ends. Forget it. Am I the only one that's... Man, you guys are saints. Well, I'm going to do this. And then you get so tired. And God says, here's the gift that I've given you in your life. Do good. It's a gift. And in Galatians, Paul says it this way. Don't grow weary in doing good. For in due season we'll reap if we don't give up. So then, as you have opportunity, let us do good to everyone, especially to those who are of the household of faith. Notice what he didn't say. Do good to those who appreciate it. Do good to those who you really, really like. Do good to your friends. Do good to your family. It says, do good to everybody. But God, I'll get burned. Probably. But it's not a stop. It's not like a reason for you to stop doing good. This is my gift for you, to be joyful in everything and to keep doing good. And it's time that the church take heart and take courage and realize we've been given a purpose, even in the midst of these dire circumstances. Keep being who God's called you to be. Keep loving. Keep giving. Keep baking. Just dropping hints. It's okay. Keto friendly. No, just kidding. Keep doing good. And in due season, it'll pay off. And even if it doesn't, that's not what it's about. Keep doing good. But God, I'm so sick of these kids in the nursery. They get on my last and just keep serving. But God, nobody appreciates it. I didn't ask you to gain appreciation. I asked you to be faithful. Keep doing good. Buck up. Do good. And in due season, you'll reap a harvest. Keep doing good. Especially to those who are of the household of faith. You know, the people in this room right here are a gift to you. Can I get one amen on that? I mean, just so. Do you love each other? I know you do. That's one of the things I love about this church. I give my life for this church. I give my life for you. I genuinely love you. And most of you love me back. Just kidding. Just kidding. I know we love each other. This is the greatest gift outside of Christ that we've been given as the household of faith. There ain't nothing greater in my life than knowing when I'm weak that there's people in this room that come and lift my arms and say, we're going to do this together.
Amen.
I love you. When I see people doing that for one another, all I can think is that's Jesus right there. That's what it's supposed to be like. Nobody in this place needs to stand alone. Paul says, don't lose heart, and do it especially to those in the household of faith. Those in this place right here, we ought to be nicer to them than anybody in the entire world. We're talking about God's gifts. This is God's gift to man, to live joyful, to do good, to have eternity in our hearts, to realize we're in process. And then he says something that's kind of peculiar. He says this, I perceive that there's nothing better for them to do than to be joyful and to do good as long as they live. I love this part. Also, that everyone should eat and drink. Boom! pleasure in his work. Ooh. Do you know that your job's a gift from God? And he doesn't want you living in a mindset where you punch a clock and you're sitting there all day thinking, Lord, it feels like I've been here for 8 hours and it's only been 8 minutes. I hate this place. My bosses are jerks. My job is a waste. I hate it. Please make this end. I hate it, God, please. I don't think that's how God wants us to do life. If you're doing something that's your career, quit. Here's what I believe. If you do something you enjoy and called to do, you'll never work a day in your life.
Amen.
That's kind of weird. How to pay the bills. Find something that you're created to do because it's God's gift to you. He doesn't want you to be miserable the next 50 years. To enjoy your toil and to live life, to eat, to drink, to live life. This is his gift to you. It's kind of weird theology. It's biblical theology. I just read you the verse. Eat, drink, live life. Even enjoy your work. You know what? I don't even consider that I have a job. I love and am honored to be the pastor of this church. I've had people come and, how do you do this? It's not hard. I love it. I absolutely love it. I think that's how God wants every one of us to do life. Well, that's not my story. It can be. It can be. Eat, drink. Well, God, that's not what it's about. Sometimes God just wants you to live life and to rest. And sometimes he wants you to buck up and go to work. Some of the most fun times that I've ever had were some of the most excruciatingly work intensive. When you put your heart to something, man, and it costs you something, and you just work like crazy, it was a blast. I remember after the ice storm, I just had an idea. Now, this is a dangerous idea for somebody of my caliber. I've got a chainsaw. You know what? People need things cut. I'm a man. Got a chainsaw. And I went one day with my buddy, and we just started cutting up trees. I had sawdust all over the place. Thank God I didn't lose an appendage or anything. I was exhausted, and the next morning I couldn't lift my arms. Who's hungry? Like you know how it is with the shampoo. You're like, it's more head than hands, you know. It was an exhausting day, but I loved every minute of it. I think that's how life is supposed to be. And I think Christians are supposed to realize that life is a gift from God. And if I'm working, if I'm fellowshipping with my friends, I'm going to embrace every moment because this is a moment given to me by God.
Amen.
Guys, that's the way that we need to do life. If we're at dinner together, if we're eating, last night we had an epiphany party. It was awesome. I love it. Just sitting there, and I went home so full, thinking, God, I love the people in my life. You're so good. And I love it. And it doesn't matter if you're outside digging a ditch. Do it for him. And when that happens, all of a sudden, you begin to enjoy life. I don't think we're supposed to be miserable the rest of our life. Find something and enjoy it and put your heart into it. Solomon's in this place and it's all vanity. It's a waste. That's one way to do life. But that's not it. He says this. This is God's gift to man. To realize we're in process. And to know that he's made everything beautiful in his time. Hope is coming. To live with eternity in your heart. And I've told you, eternity is getting real close. Be joyful. Keep doing good. And enjoy life. And take pleasure even in your work. This is God's gift to you. Now, what are you going to do with it? That's the question. Well, some of you will think, okay, thank you for the gift. Or you'll look at it, yay, what I've always wanted. God, I hate this. You'll say, God, I really, really am so grateful. This hit me. You know what? You've given me this gift, and I've wasted it. I have wasted conversations. I've wasted moments. I've wasted my work. I've wasted my life. I've lived for today instead of eternity. I'm an old grouch instead of living in joy. All these things are gifts from God to us, and it's a choice what we do with it. Father, I thank you today that the joy of the Lord is our strength. Lord, the calling that you have placed on our life is intense. And you never promised in this life that it would be fun. As a matter of fact, you said that as a Christ follower, the price would be heavy and will be hated. But even in the midst of that, Lord, you've given us some incredible gifts. And they're beautiful. To know that even when we're in the midst of something, Lord, you'll make it beautiful. Lord, there's not a greater gift than to knowing that God's with us. Lord, you've given us the gift to realize that this life is brief. The brevity of this life in comparison to eternity, Lord, and you've placed eternity in our hearts. And I pray that through this today, Lord, that we will all be inspired to touch eternity and to touch the kingdom instead of living in our world. And we ask you right now, Father, to instill that in our hearts and not let us get away from it. Not let us to get lost in this life that we're living now. Father, I pray that we'll all be given the gift of joy. That we'll all be given the gift and revel in the gift of doing good for one another, even in the household of faith. And Lord, I pray that we would embrace each moment that you've given us. Even in things that we don't necessarily enjoy in